well, please, on the backs of African and the blood of African people who were stripped of every part of our humanity. We know that by 1776, when this country was founded and this Declaration of Independence was written, declaring that all men were created equal, we know that this was a country founded as a slave holding nation, and that the men who signed the Declaration of Independence and created this United States of America were mostly land owning white men who were slaveholders, particularly the author of the Declaration, or the purported author, which was Thomas Jefferson himself, the third president of the United States. These men had become the richest men in the world from the production of cotton and rice and tobacco and what have you, which was all produced by free slave labor, all the slaves being black people and our descendants. And as we move through the next several hundred years, next 100 or so years, and the cotton industry grew to the point where the United States was the greatest producer of cotton, and with the advent of the steam engine and so forth, we get to that place where ultimately you end up with Abraham Lincoln saying that he wanted to expand the country, but did not want to expand slavery for a variety of reasons that had nothing to do with his humanity at all. Ultimately, as we know, 11 states of the United States, of the then United States, decided to secede from the Union on account of this refusal of the then president to allow for the expansion of slavery beyond the slaveholding states. But we must remember that when Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation in 1863, he talked about freeing the slaves in the seceding states. Well, he wasn't the president of the seceding states. They had an organization called the Confederacy, and they had their own president and so forth. So he had no legal sway over any slave in the so-called slaveholding states. He did not say he would free any slaves that were in those states that would remain in the Union, and that's one of the many technicalities that ended up keeping black people fully enslaved and oppressed for quite some time. Of course, we know the tide of war changed in 1863, and by 1865, once blacks, enslaved people thought that they were free and started leaving these various plantations and undermining the backbone of the Confederacy in war, the tide of war changed, and ultimately we have General Sherman burning down Atlanta, and with thousands and hundreds of thousands of African slaves participating in the war, marched to the siege of Savannah and declared a victory for the Union and a defeat for the so-called Confederacy. At that point, we have a Congress that passed that was about to pass and did write the 13th Amendment, which outlawed, prohibited slavery, except as a punishment for crime in the United States. However, at the same time, since the slave population had nowhere to go and nowhere to be, and were pretty obvious because we were black, um, the General Sherman issued Field Order Number 15 that divided up all of the confiscated southern plantations and lands from North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, and Florida along the coast 30 miles inward, and gave 40-acre plots to the people who were enslaved coming out of slavery for them to start a life and a family in, if that were possible, on these lands. But of course, once the new president, Andrew Johnson, took over, he rescinded that order, and blacks were removed from those lands, those that had already begun to live on them. And the former Confederate states all passed a series of laws which came to be known as the Black Codes. And the Black Codes dictated Black life, so that the one thing that was pivotal and important in the Black Codes was that a Black had to have a job. Well, needless to say, coming out of slavery, and with nothing but agriculture in the southern states, it was very hard to have a job. And so we didn't have one, and we were then punished by being put onto chain gangs and to work for free yet again in what a man named Douglas Blackman put in his book called The Reenslavement of Blacks. We worked for free again for those many years from 18.
Elaine, Ms. Brown, this is Betsy Morris, and I want to apologize for not getting the right material to you on time at the proper email address. I'm the co-convener with Carol.
I'm delivering
I do, but I wanted to, we actually do have questions, although I did think you would give some talk, but we've primed people with your history, and many people here have.
Are we going to debate this? Because I was just told to start speaking about the Black Panther Party, and I feel it is important for you, especially since you are not Black and do not have the kind of consciousness that America generally doesn't have, to understand why there was a Black Panther Party. Now, you've interrupted the flow of what I'm explaining, and if that's what you want to do, then that's what you've just done. But I'm not.
I apologize for being disrespectful.
I'm trying to explain why there was a Black Panther Party. But if you're not interested in that, then I'll just take questions. I asked for questions in the beginning. I was told, no, that's not the format. So it's curious to me that you would find this moment to interrupt what I'm saying to now tell me you have questions.
I did want to let you know that we have people with questions about your more contemporary work, myself included, but I apologize profusely. I take responsibility. I did interrupt, and I will continue, and please continue. You left off post-Civil War with the very important regression and repression of former Africans.
I think that you need to really think about this. You've invited me here.
Yes, ma'am.
We had the wrong email address. I said thought I was answering questions. I was told by someone else here that no, I was expected to make a statement or to do some remarks, and asked me about the Black Panther Party. I decided that the way I talk about the Black Panther Party is this, but if you want to dictate it to me, then
no, ma'am.
But I'm getting to the place now where this entire exercise is not a very positive one. And it definitely shows a certain sort of sense of privilege that you think you should interrupt me to tell me that I should be answering questions. So now what I'm going to do is be quiet now what I'm going to do, ma'am, is to be quiet and take the questions. Do you have questions?
Miss Margot, you're muted. Miss Margot, we can't hear you. You're muted. Mustachio.
Hi, Elaine. One time we co-chaired the campaign for John George, and it's just delightful to see you still functioning, still moving things. And I am not a member of the Black Panthers, but I just came because I wanted to enjoy your vitality and the work you're doing now. So please know that I'm sure many of us here want to hear whatever you have to say.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
There's a lot of head nodding going on, agreeing with what Margot just was saying.
I usually moderate. I apologize. I know people want to hear whatever you have to say, and but I do see a hand, and people should feel free to speak without my intervening. Again, I apologize. Maria, your hand went up. Do you have a question?
Well, it's mostly just a statement of great appreciation. I'm starting to cry because I was very active in the 60s and the 70s and the 80s and still. And so I'm just very grateful to you. And the Black Panthers has been a model for me forever, exemplary of how people, when they care and are willing to share, stand up and do what is needed to be done. So again, please forgive all of us if possible. And if not, that's great. I understand. But thank you. And please keep speaking because you are one of a kind. And, we're so grateful. I'm so grateful that you're here. Thank
I
you.
appreciate that. And I'm going to then, based on your really positive feedback, I'm going to finish what I started out saying before I was so rudely interrupted. It's important. I'm 81 years old, so I don't know how old the rest of you are, but I'm 81. I don't have gray hair because I go to the hairdresser every 3 weeks, and that's the end of that part. But getting back to what is the point? Because if we don't understand the point, then there's no question that you can ask that will be informed other than to say, well, how'd you get along with Huey or, whatever other little personal questions people can ask. I can certainly talk about what I'm doing today, but that is all based on the work and the ideology that I derive from my history with the Black Panther Party. At the time that the end of the Civil War and the Black codes were passed, Blacks were re-enslaved, as I started to say. And you can read a wonderful book called by Douglas Blackman called The Re-Enslavement of Blacks from 1865 forward. It goes to 1955 or whatever it is he says, but look it up if you want to. The point is, from that point forward, Black people in America struggled to fit in, to find a place to live, to be. We certainly could not go back to the continent because our history on the continent of Africa had been erased. And so we were this kind of lost tribe in the United States that had no place that we belonged, that didn't own anything or control anything, and that had just been an enslaved population for hundreds of years prior. So for the next 100 years, Black people fought just to get the basic to survive in a hostile environment where we were lynched, murdered, and denied every human and civil right. By 1896, the case of Plessy versus Ferguson challenged the question of segregation because Plessy, out of New Orleans, was a very light-skinned Black man who called himself an octoroon, meaning theoretically he had 1/8 Black blood, which as though we could count Black blood. And he challenged the seating on the train in New Orleans and ultimately sued the train company and went to the United States Supreme Court in the case of Plessy versus Ferguson. And the Supreme Court said that even though Plessy had paid the same fare as the white people, it wasn't, they could not overrule the idea that white people did not have to allow him to sit in the same car with them. And therefore, even though he was reduced to sitting in steerage or something comparable, that as long as the accommodations were equal, according to the Supreme Court ruling in Plessy versus Ferguson, they could be separate. Now, what is the significance of that? The significance of that is there were no trains being made for Black people, and we didn't have the money for a train. There were no separate things being built for Black people, so we had to, in order to get a seat on the train or anything else, we had to fight for the right to sit and to be where white people were. And so from the days of Booker T. Washington, who was a slave who started an educational institute called Tuskegee, who decided that Black people would have to make our own money and make our own way. If we had the money to start a life for ourselves, develop Tuskegee Institute, which remains today as a tribute to those efforts for economic independence, followed up by the NAACP, which was actually founded by white and Black people, especially W.B. Du Bois, which talked about educating Black people and so that we could be fit for integration into the the society. And then you had the movement of Marcus Garvey coming from Jamaica to see Booker T. Washington, who fought for and created institutions or created efforts for Black independence, everything from the Black Star Line shipping company to the United Negro Improvement Association. Then you had Elijah Muhammad from the Nation of Islam, who followed suit and tried to develop independent Black businesses. At that point, you had, and that was in the 50s, and by 1954, as you all should know, there was the case of a little girl named Linda Brown, who wanted to desegregate the schools in Kansas, in Topeka, Kansas, and was told that she could not go because she was Black. She could not go to a white school. And so the NAACP created a legal defense fund headed by Thurgood Marshall, who would become the first Black member of the United States Supreme Court, and filed a lawsuit, Brown versus Board of Education of Topeka, and saying that separate was not equal in public education. And the court agreed, but the court came up with a solution to desegregate schools by busing and other methods, which were resisted violently by whites in America, to the point where we still have segregated public schools in the United States because we have segregated neighborhoods and so forth. But at that point, you had the beginning, one could say, the advent of television, the advent of cameras, and people began to see around the world what America was really doing as not the land of the free and the home of the brave, but the land of segregation and oppression for Black people. And so in 1955, you had Rosa Parks, a member of the NAACP, who set in motion a powerful effort to boycott the buses in Montgomery, Alabama, because they did not allow Black people to sit where there were no seats for white people. And that boycott lasted 1 year and gave rise to the moral challenge and the great voice of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Eventually, those Southern movements that people now call the Civil Rights Movement began to, okay, whatever it is, turn it off. So those movements began to fight for desegregation of public spaces and for the right of Black people to vote in America. And through a lot of bloodshed and fighting, by 1964, the United States government passed the Civil Rights Act, and in 1965, the Voting Rights Act. Now, it was important to remember all of this because at that point, 1 year later, the Black Panther Party was formed. You had other organizations in the South working alongside Dr. King's SCLC. For example, SNCC, the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee, which was headed at one point by John Lewis, who became a congressman, and later by Rap Brown and Stokely Carmichael. The Black Panther Party joined this 400 and so this year, hundreds of years parade for freedom for Black people. And our contribution was that we said that we did not believe Black people could ever be free in America as long as the scheme that oppressed us, which was capitalism accommodated by racism, existed. And so we called for revolutionary change. And that was the difference between our ideology and that of the other Black organizations, from SCLC to SNCC to CORE to the NAACP and so forth. They were looking for a place at the table, and we were looking to say that this table is filled with rotten food and that we wanted something new and better. And so we became a communist with a small c organization. And that's why I wanted to give that perspective so that people would understand exactly what the Black Panther Party stood for. In our 10-point platform and program, which was merely a survey of what the things were that the manifestations of the oppression of Black people, we talked about, the first point was we want freedom, power to determine the destinies of our Black communities. Now, this is an important point as to what I'm doing today. And so one of the other points, number 7, was we want an end to police brutality and murder of Black people. And we said that we believe that the only way this will end is if we begin to defend ourselves and form our own neighborhood defense organizations, so that when the police come through, they will be met with resistance. And we really believe that, and therefore we armed ourselves, which is why so many people became nervous about the Black Panther Party. Oh, we don't mind murdering all the Native people, the Trail of Tears, Powhatan Confederacy, the destruction of Native lands, and so forth. We don't mind the enslavement of Black people and the murder of Black people, but what we don't want is for Black people to carry a gun and resist our violence. So that was one of the things that we became known for. However, we had other points in our platform that we called for a decent education. And so we started our own Oakland Community School and other school efforts. We said we had the right to food, and so we started free breakfast for children program, free food programs. We talked about the right to housing and decent housing, and we started a housing program in Oakland under a nonprofit called Oakland Community Housing. And we talked about all of these other things. We also recognized that we could never be free as long as other people were oppressed, because we would not want to live in a situation where we became the oppressor. And so we formed coalitions with other organizations seeking liberation and freedom of their own, such as the American Indian Movement and the Brown Berets and the Young Lords and the Young Patriots, who were young whites out of Chicago, who only the day before were calling Dr. King, running him out of Cicero, and calling Black people nigger, coming up from Kentucky and Mississippi, but now uniting with our leader there, Fred Hampton, to talk about housing and how people couldn't afford to live in housing in Chicago. And that was the Young Patriots. And then ultimately, we formed a number of other organizations, and your organization formed during that time, calling yourselves the Great Panthers. And we worked with the Center for Independent Living to talk about the rights of the disabled. We worked with gay liberation organizations, women's liberation organizations. We worked with the Trust for Public Land on environmental issues. We formed coalitions with liberation organizations, pardon me, around the world, and especially on the African continent, with Frelimo in Mozambique, with ZANU in Zimbabwe, with the MPLA in Angola, all seeking liberation from colonial powers. And we formed relationships with revolutionary governments in China, North Korea, North Vietnam, and Cuba. And so the Black Panther Party became an international revolutionary organization that was targeted by the FBI as the greatest threat to the internal security. And so we fought off police assaults, we fought off murders, and we fought the ultimate program of the FBI called COINTELPRO, Counterintelligence Program. And ultimately, I would say we collapsed by 1981 of the weight and the pain and the assaults by the government. Fast forward, as for me, after many years of doing this and that, working on prisoner issues and so forth, I have returned to Oakland, California. I've formed a nonprofit called Oakland and the World Enterprises, and we right now are building a 79-unit, 100% affordable housing complex in West Oakland, which is about to be finished, or complete. The construction is about to be finished in the end of May, and we will be able to provide housing. But our main mission is to develop cooperative businesses for Black and other poor people, so that they can find a way out of poverty in the absence of a real movement in America challenging the status quo. And so right now at our project at 7th and Campbell, we are launching an urban farm in our building. We have a fitness center, a neighborhood market.
I muted myself, so go ahead.
We have a neighborhood market, a fitness center, a restaurant, and a tech center business that will be launched and
We saw
established.
something yesterday, but I couldn't understand. You know, it was just a fragment.
Can you mute her, Margot?
And I don't do well with texting.
Margot, you're not muted.
So she makes documentary films about other things, and she's just finished one, was having a free show. So I was calling in case you knew anyone who know.
Sounds like somebody has a major contribution. Margot, you're not muted.
I'm not talking. Let's see. I'm sorry.
There you go.
Well, anyway, I'm finished with what I had to say, and I'm prepared to answer questions if you have them.
I would like to make a comment. The phrasing you used about what pressed down, pressed back against the rising is the weight of integration, which means, of course, removal, as you've much mentioned, of who the people were, had been, are. That integration is a real killer.
Did you have a question? I wasn't clear. It was just a comment.
To emphasize your point, I think we could all deal with the idea.
Okay, thank you. I do see a hand up from Arlene Hip, I thought.
Yes, yes. I'm so honored and privileged even just to be talking to you. Thank you so much for being here and for
Well,
educating us. I am so, thank you. First of all, first thing is I'm following your development over in West Oakland, and it's definitely necessary. I'm wondering, do you have programs that are educating people in order to do these things? Like, are you working in collaboration to help move the things that you have put in place in your building forward?
Actually, I don't have, and probably should have a training program, but my initial assessment was that most of what we're doing is pretty obvious, and the training programs that most people want to engage in are really capitalist. They don't understand the idea of cooperative ownership. They don't understand what we're trying to do, and they want to charge me a lot of money to learn how to, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, sort of financial literacy, nothing that irritated me more, how we can have good credit line and how we can be oppressed and still figure out how to eat every day. I don't think there is a good enough model, and that may be arrogant. And most of the people really don't know what to do. I've had a few people and still do who are going to train people on thinking about themselves as business owners in a legal way, because you have a lot of people that have been in prison selling dope on the streets, so they were businessmen too.
Yes,
They
indeed.
just didn't keep books, and they had a product that would get them in trouble, and they never made any money anyway. That's why they ended up in prison. So that is one of the that
Well,
is indeed one of the things that I have thought about. But as I said, most of the people that I've seen, the programs, are really training formerly incarcerated people to conform and to feel bad about themselves and to understand that this is a second chance, as though there was a first chance, and so forth and so on. So there's an ideological disconnect, Ms. Hip, between what I'm trying to do, at least in my mind. Now, I'm not saying that I'm going to be successful, because we have been, but so far we think we're going to have each of these businesses up and running quickly. For example, the tech business, I mean, I'm hoping that we can get enough space ultimately that we can produce 3D printed houses, which are easy to produce
yes.
and which can be
Yeah.
cheap. I want to produce a 3D printed car and a whole bunch of other stuff that we can do with tech, and we can do with tech apps. But I also want the people who are part of the business to make a lot of money, so that other young people will look at them and say, well, wait a minute, I don't have to play basketball or become a rapper or just get a gig job delivering, Burger King or something. I actually can find a way. And so our goal is to finance and launch and sustain these businesses until they are profitable, which will probably take 2 to 3 years. But as to the tech business, We have two biological brothers, black men who grew up in West Oakland. They were in foster care, as so many were. In other words, abandoned, put into foster homes. Ultimately, one aged out, and he brought his, made his brother he made his brother his foster child, so that they could work together. But they eventually ended up selling drugs. One of them went to prison for 7 years, but they also ended up in a coding program. And when we met them, they were actually teaching kids in juvenile hall coding, and they can still do that on site. But they became coders. One of them actually was hired by Meta, formerly Facebook, as a cyber hacking or whatever that is. And so they're really, really smart. And so that's the kind of people that are that we're going to put that we have that will develop these businesses. So I do have some training, but a lot of what I do also is to ideologically get them aware or conscious ideologically of what this system is, because they too, having been inculcated in this country, see life as cutthroat and exploitative. And if I make mine, then I don't have to worry about you, and I can exploit you so that I can make even more money. And believe it or not, that's one of the hardest lessons for most of these people to learn, that, they're not going to be that. And so I appreciate your question, but it is an issue. And I don't know that I have really addressed it properly, but I'm hoping for the best right now.
Well, I thank you, because I was not thinking about outside folks actually running them. I was thinking about those who are impacted.
No, I
Because,
mean, they would run
yeah.
them, but you were talking about training them as to business and getting them savvy with things that they needed
No,
to
no,
learn.
no, 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 no. That I was talking about those who are impacted, like you was talking about the garden, right? There's a
Right,
lot of people who have been impacted that have a lot of knowledge about that,
right.
but
Oh, and I
never
have
been able to do the work.
Yeah, I got a couple of people working on that garden, and people,
So,
I had some people to come by when we had our property is 3/4 of an acre. And when we were just trying to clean it up and develop it, and we finally cleaned it up and put an urban farm there until we could get the money to build this building, which is a long and sad and winding story. But when we did, we had a lot of people come and say, "Well, what are you doing?" And I had a young woman, young sister named Kelly Carlisle, and I had her to help us to build the farm. But she taught everybody there, who most of whom were formerly incarcerated. We were paying $20 an hour, and she taught them how to plant, how to get the good soil, how to build our own beds, our vegetable beds, and so forth. So we do need that. That's what I was thinking.
yeah,
We
that's
need
what I that
yeah,
that
we need that.
exactly.
And as I was trying to tell people that would come in there and tell me that, well, this wasn't a farm because we didn't have any farm animals. And so my attitude is I'm not interested, because the one thing I do know, that the Black people not only grew everything America ate for the first 250 years of its existence, but we cooked it. So please don't come to us talking to us about planting any goddamn vegetables, because we were the ones that did plant vegetables. I don't know if you happen to see the film High on the Hog, but I highly recommend it. It's a documentary that's very powerful that I think Netflix has, High on the Hog. I don't want to tell you about it, but I think it goes to what you're talking about, because most of like rice growing, as West Africans taught the Europeans how to grow rice, and then we had to teach them how to cook it and how to eat and everything else. So if anybody knows anything about planting food, I don't need to have, too many people.
Outsiders.
Yeah, don't have to have too many people, because there's one thing, especially Black people coming up into West Oakland during World War II, who came with their Louisiana skills, with their farming from Louisiana, from Texas, and not only could farm but cook and make a lot of different dishes. So that is a good question, and but we do need some help in the actual training.
I
Yeah.
am very interested in the work that you do, and having done some work with human trafficking, young people with human trafficking, the Legal Aid Society, the reentry, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I get where you're coming from. It's not about outside, it's about co-opting who we are and what we have
That's
the
right.
capability to do. I really would love to get in touch with your
Well, I'll put my
organization.
number in the chat. I don't hide, but somebody can take it down or put it in the chat room. And my number is 404-542-1211. I'm not a person that hides or tries. I don't have any, like people say, do you have your schedule? I don't have a schedule. I'm the scheduler. I'm the everything. So if you
Can
want to
you
take down my,
repeat? Can you repeat the number?
it's 404-542-1211. And I do take calls and I make myself as available as possible. Okay, so maybe you have a few more questions.
I have a whole bunch, but I don't want to monopolize.
I think
I love the
Maria was
concept.
ahead of me then.
Maria, I think you had your hand up first.
Thank you very much. Ah, you move me to my bones. You truly do. And, there's nothing I can do about the fact that I'm white. And I've been sad about that my entire life.
I didn't know you were white, frankly.
Well,
I'm
thank you.
surprised.
Thank you, because my soul's not. My heart and soul is not.
I have to
But
put my glasses on. Oh,
oh,
I
no,
didn't.
never mind. Don't you look.
I thought you were a
No.
light-skinned black person, but do go ahead.
Oh, there's a lot that we could chat about, but I just, again, I'm just the inherent dignity and graciousness and patience and forbearance, and to top it all off, generosity and commitment to persevere in the inherent dignity of everybody, not just you, but everybody. That's what's so essentially true, and why I was captivated as soon as I got a clue. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I've brought that to the street. I've been involved with so many folk that need the care of just folk being there. So I'm going to reach out to you and ask if you would be open to let me, if you wish, and it would be of any use, to contribute to you, because one of the things that I'm involved with is construction. And one of the things that I've appreciated are the engineers and architects on the street fabricating the most ingenious things from garbage.
Right.
Again, right.
But,
So
but
those.
our building though is completely stable and.
No, I get it, and you're very
By the way,
professional, and I commend you.
if
I
you're
commend
into
you for being professional, but I am a hippie, and I am not into capitalism. I'm not into profit, and I am not into bureaucracy, as
well,
many
you're
of
gonna
the
have to
people.
I
Yeah.
want to make sure the people that we have that will move into this beautiful building will live in a beautiful place. We have 20,000 square feet of solar panels on the roof. We
Mm,
have beautiful tile showers with glass doors. We have triple pane windows. We
mm.
have a vapor mitigation system underneath. So this is not some fly-by-night garbage. This is a luxury building. It just happens to be reserved 100% for people that are identified as low income and extremely low income.
And that is perfect. I'm responding
Okay.
to like Arlene, the businesses that and the community mutual cooperative
Right.
co-op things.
We're
In
going to
other
make,
words,
right. We want to,
in
but
other
I'm
words,
going to
so
make
that
everybody,
this can expand into being the creative geniuses that we are and can when we think of each other and not just ourselves. So thank you again. Tears are in my eyes. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Bless you. And I'm going to be reaching out. Thank you so
all right.
much.
I was looking forward to it.
All right. Thank you.
Ms. Brown, thank you very much for that amazing history that you presented to us. It's Jim McLaughlin speaking.
Okay. I
And
can't see. Oh, I see. I see Jim and Roberta. Right.
yeah,
Okay.
too many of us don't know that history. And too many of us don't know that the average white family has 13 times the wealth of the average black family in this country. And they don't know why. They don't understand the need for reparations. To
Right.
that end, an organization that we are a part of that we helped found is East Bay Reparations Awareness and Advocacy. And
Wow.
what we've been doing is using a simulation program from Bread for the World. And we've gone around to churches to educate people about the 13 federal policies, just the federal policies. And you mentioned one about how the land that was granted to formerly enslaved people was rescinded by Andrew Johnson. That's one of the 13. There are 12 other federal policies that have disproportionately affected and negatively Black people in this country. And we use that program. It's a simulation program. It takes about an hour and a half, and we're happy to do that with any groups, white groups, Black groups, anywhere in the Bay Area, so that they understand the justification, the need, the great demand for reparations. And
Well, that's a good thing. I'm glad to hear that you're doing it. I mean, Mr. McLaughlin, the problem is that you and I both know that the only time there'll be some reparation for Black people is when we change the fundamental institution of the country. Gavin Newsom put out a lot of state money to form a reparations committee, all of whom were Black people. All of whom were Black people, and they spent a couple of years developing all kinds of theories about, all kinds of histories about Black people, not just in general, but in California, and the different things that would justify a payment to Blacks for labor, for free labor, for our barrack.
yeah, the thing is,
So the governor stated, after they gave him the report, and people started arguing about whether we should get money directly, or whether we should have land, or whether we should use it to educate, clean up the neighborhood, whatever. There's arguments going on about money that didn't exist. Gavin Newsom said, well, this is a wonderful effort that you've made, and I really appreciate it, but we don't have any money for this in the budget of California. Now you have the same thing over in San Francisco. They just voted over there yesterday, I believe, that Black people deserved reparations for human rights violations and so forth. But what are they going to do to actually, they apologized, which I thought was interesting, something Bill Clinton wouldn't do when asked, and certainly no other president has done, to even acknowledge that there was a crime called slavery, much less to apologize for it, much less to try to compensate the descendants of slaves. But I'm of the opinion that while I wouldn't mind having my check for 40 million or 40 billion for that matter, in lieu of 40 acres, the problem is where you're going to get the money from, and who's going to vote for it. The average person in America who is not Black is not going to be supporting the idea of giving Black people money for past harm. And the only way we are going to ever dig ourselves out of the morass of poverty and degradation and racism is because we will fight for it. And that is what I believe. I got to take another question.
Well, fortunately, Ms. Brown, if I may just follow up with that, some of us are not waiting for the government to ask. Some of us are already providing reparative transfers. There's in Richmond, for example, is a Black Wealth Builders Fund that's providing up to $25,000 towards down payment for Black people to buy homes, and a lot of churches in the area have been.
I think that's wonderful. I'm not denouncing the effort, but I'm saying when we're talking about 200 and some years of slavery, then we got to be talking about billions of dollars, and we have to be talking about, because the disparity, the wealth disparity in this country, as you know, is outrageous. I can tell you right now that the banks do nothing but continue to redline. So that means you would still have to be involved, for example, with the banking business. The banking business is an outrage. So all I'm saying is any effort that we make to improve someone's life is wonderful. But when we use the term reparations, and you're talking to me, then we have to talk about billions and billions of dollars. Otherwise, unless you're planning on sticking up Jamie Dimon at Chase Bank or Wells Fargo and taking the money they've stolen, I don't know where you're going to get the money from, is my point. And the money cannot be in some drips and drabs, and we wait another 100 years for the housing, the racism in housing and lending to die out. We have been here since the 1600s, and we have the highest poverty rate in America, the highest cancer death rate in America, the highest incarceration rate in America, the highest infant mortality and maternal mortality rates, and so forth, lowest educational attainment levels. We have schools that are still worse than anything in any neighborhood. In McClymonds, for example, in West Oakland, or where we are. So these problems are massive that have come down from the institution of slavery and the continuation of the oppression of Black people. So I think anything you're doing is wonderful, but I'm not here to debate reparations because you're not putting billions of dollars in your mouth, and I'm only talking about billions of dollars. Matter of
I
fact,
agree. Trillion.
trillions of dollars. It would
Yeah.
require a complete redistribution of wealth in the United States of America, something that Dr. King was fighting for when he was assassinated by the government. Formed and organized the Poor People's Campaign to demand guaranteed income, so forth and so on. So the inequity and the economic injustice and the disparity in wealth in America can't be cured. I'm not going to do it my little 79 units. This is merely a model to encourage people to maybe do something other than sit on their hands and hope for the best. I'm not hoping for the best either, but I know that this is not a question that can be resolved with a few housing units that I have. If we want reparations, the only way we're going to get it will be to transform the entire landscape and institutions in this country so that we have an egalitarian society, which we do not have. I want to take another question.
Yes,
Amen.
hi, Elaine. I just want to mention your legacy and maybe it's invisible, but there are people highly inspired. I was invited to a birthday brunch a couple of weeks ago, and there was a young woman there from Spelman College, and she brought up the book, A Taste of Power, which I don't think you mentioned, your memoir or autobiography. And she said she was so inspired by the organizational breadth that she witnessed in it. And she's in San Francisco. When I told her that we had worked together on a campaign, I was familiar with you in the 60s and early 70s, she couldn't believe it, that anyone, it was as if I knew the Queen. So, yeah, so she
My
studied.
daughter is a graduate of Spelman, by the way.
What did you say, your daughter?
My daughter, yes, she's a graduate of Spelman.
Right. I remember you were in Atlanta for a while, I think.
I did live in Atlanta after she had already graduated. I moved to Atlanta at some point after I was living in France for 7 years.
Yes, I remember that too. So, so I just want to say that it carries on what you've written, what you speak to, and it's wonderful to hear that you are still out there fighting. You're not giving up in the breath
Well, I
of your
figured
vision.
we're all gonna be, we're all, as Willie Brown said, for those of us who are the age of a lot of you that I see here, and old as I am, somebody might be older, but I think I'm in the line is getting shorter. So, either I'm going to continue doing what I do until I can't do it, and that's going to come. But for now, I just, as long as I have my mental faculties and theory, I do, and physical abilities, then I'm going to keep doing this work. And I've now, this project has now given me a credential that is beyond the Black Panther Party. And now everybody's can't understand, oh, this is wonderful, but I got no help, Ms. Dashiell. I got no help at all with this project, not counting the racism and the sexism throughout but the city, the state, the county government, the resistance, the difficulty in finding affordable housing funds, to just getting that property was a drama in of itself. But I figure that unless, as I tell these people all the time, unless you have an agenda to kill me, I'm not going to stop until I achieve what I think I can achieve. So that's the way it is. But I thank you for your comments. Thank you.
Yes.
Did we get another question, and you think?
You give us an address of where the property is. I want to go look at it.
It's the 7th and Campbell Streets in West Oakland.
Great.
7th and Campbell. Right about 2 blocks down from the BART going away from downtown toward the port. on
Okay,
7th, right across from the main stupid post office in Oakland, which is that institution that cleared out 12 square blocks of Black people's housing under some eminent domain and removed 400 and some people from their homes, 400 and some homes, in order to create that ridiculous edifice. And then there's the BART line, which only when you get to West Oakland rises above ground and creates all that noise, whereas all the other stations are underground, even though that's the station that everyone will have to take coming out of the East Bay if you want to go to San Francisco, because that's the one that will lead to the tunnel that will take you to the other side of the bay into the financial district of San Francisco. So those gentrifying or urban renewal projects have, pretty much, destroyed a lot of the people there, but it is there on 7th Street. So it's 7th and Campbell, which is a little street, but it's directly across from the post office. Once you get there, you won't miss it because it's the only big and new and bright, beautiful building there in that area.
congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I see someone named Cunningham with a hand up, or someone.
Yes,
I see
yes,
Miss Paul.
it's,
I see
yes,
Miss Paul.
it is me, Elaine, Mrs. Cunningham. Look, the reason why, I'm so sorry I missed your presentation, and I know it was great, but I wanted to go on another subject, and that's about incarceration.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that bill, AB 1104?
No, what is it?
Well, it's a bill that's supposed to help the inmates. When they come out from incarceration, their record's supposed to be erased. It's a bill that's been passed here recently that I can't remember the author of the bill, but it wasn't for everybody, and it should have been.
Oh, no, it's for, I do know what you're talking about. I just didn't know the number. Yeah, it's for a very narrow group of people who, certain types of crimes, certain conditions. I mean, by the time you figure, it's like 2 out of every 1,000 people might get that exoneration. But, we fought for this kind of thing since the days of George Jackson and before, to try to get, just minimal pieces of justice for people who were formerly incarcerated. But all of the people who work with me, almost all who are building these businesses are formerly incarcerated. So what my goal is to create the opportunity and a pathway out of degradation and poverty for people coming out of prison. And the other part is that in our building, we are not denying anyone the right or the opportunity to live there simply because of former incarceration or bad credit rating or whatever else people think that they have to move into a decent place to live. The only issue we have on restrictions is if you were convicted of a sex offense. We are 1 block from a school, and sex offenders just by law cannot live anywhere near where there's a school. And some of our units are subsidized by Oakland Housing, which comes out of HUD, and HUD has has 1 denial on former incarceration, and that is sex offender. But yeah, I'm working with a lot of formerly incarcerated people. I would like to say to Betsy Marvis that it is now 12:38, and I would like to close out by 2:45, pardon me, 2:38, 2:45, because I have another appointment at 3 that I have to get to physically. So I'd like to, sort of close that out if we can. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for weathering my crap. And more important, for being here for everyone who had a question. I'm sure we have more. Arlene, I did want to just for our membership, just welcome Ms. Cunningham. Miss Cecilia Cunningham was a member a number of years ago, and she recently was able to renew, and I'm so happy to welcome her back and that she got here in time to ask her question herself.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. So as I said, I gave my phone number. If anyone has something to follow up, You could give out my email if you like.
The right one. The
Well,
right.
the other one was the right one. It's just that I don't look at it. So it's
Got it.
monitored by someone else. And so therefore I won't get it until they tell me what emails have come in. I did
So
know
can-
that Ms. Helen Walsh had a question. And if it's a short one, I would be happy to at least address it or at least listen to what it is so that I can leave at 2:45.
Thank you. Mhm.
Sure. And thank you very much, Elaine. It's not a question. I'll try to be short. But I wanted to thank you and the Black Panther Party for my having the experience to get to meet you when I was 11 years old in San Francisco in 1977 during the 504 sit-in.
Right.
And
Oh my goodness.
I was just a kid, knew nothing what was, didn't even know about the disability rights movement. But from there until now, it is because of what I witnessed, of community coming together, the Black Panthers bringing in supplies and food and learning about the educational programs. So I just never got the opportunity to thank anyone. I never got to meet Brad Lomax. I wanted to, but
Before we go, can I just say something about that, please?
yes.
Because it's one of the proudest things that we've done. We knew Ed Roberts. Brad Lomax was a member of the Black Panther Party who was came to be afflicted with MS, ultimately was wheelchair bound. And we were thinking, you know, Black Panthers, we have to work, sell our newspapers, do this and that and the other. It didn't occur to us anybody would be disabled. And Brad told us, well, I want to be in the party. I'm in the party, but I can't even go into our facilities. And I'm being denied the right to fight for my own people. We were like, damn, how dumb are we? We forgot that Black people are disabled, or we didn't even consider it. And Brad educated us, and he started working with Ed Roberts directly. And anybody that's ever met Ed Roberts, if you were only 11 years old, you might not remember Ed Roberts, but Ed was a quadriplegic. And he was like a really rough and tumble character, very militant and crazy, which is what I loved about Ed. And Ed would strap a pen on his head like if a bill collector came and they said, we have to see Ed, the executive director. They didn't have any money. And Ed would strap a pen on his head and say, okay, let me write you a check. And he'd start drooling his shit on the check and the pen wouldn't work. So they'd be like, oh no, okay, just please. Not to pay, just we don't want to be in the room. And he knew that. And then he worked with a lot of Vietnam vets who were paraplegic, who had a lot of upper body strength. And they used to go into the into the legislature in Sacramento, and like knock shit over. And people would say, oh, just give them the grant. What is it? Just get rid of them. And so that was Ed's strategy, to be very, very militant. So when Ed put together the national call, really, and many others, that there would be a sit-in that Casper Weinberger, then the Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare, was not going to open up the doors to the federal buildings for wheelchairs. That's all it was originally, as you say, the 504. And so they sat in, and we were in San Francisco, Ms. Walsh, we were the longest ones. And it makes me cry. You had to see people who couldn't walk, who were on the floor 28 straight days. And we were able to bring food, three meals a day. And we got Mayor Moscone, believe it or not, to bring in portable showers in the hallways, in the building, in the federal building. And so that building lasted longer than all the others across the country. And it was the publicity was so bad on the government that Casper Weinberger finally capitulated. And that was the first victory for disabled people seeking independence. Couldn't even go into a building.
Lord have mercy.
And they spent the next 12 to 13 years fighting, ultimately creating and forcing through the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Yes,
Now, for me, every time I see a handicap sign or whatever, I feel that we made our contribution, and our leader in that effort was Brad Lomax, and he had an assistant that we assigned, Chucky Boy, and they stayed in that building on the floor 28 days, very difficult. People who were blind. I can't take because they'll make me cry. So I'm glad I asked you to say something because I want this to be the last thing I say here today. That was one of the things we did as the Black Panther Party that people don't know, that went beyond questions of just race, that went beyond questions of anything, because this was a group of people, the disabled people, cutting across everything, that were denied everything by everybody. People didn't want to look at Ed Roberts, and he knew that. You think I'm ugly? Well, I have to live with this every day. And so we have all these rules now. Some, we don't have enough. Of course, they're still stuck within the economic structure and so forth. But in the end of the day, we won that victory. And it was one of the sweetest victories I can imagine in the years that I spent in the Black Panther Party. And I'm so glad, even though it's embarrassing that you were only 11 years old, but
Well,
anyway.
11 years old, but 11 years old, but it is because of that I have advocated all my life as a disabled person for diversity and for inclusive and equity. Yes, I am.
Oh, well, see,
I'm
and
a
isn't that funny? I
disability
wouldn't have
justice
known that.
advocate. Yeah.
Well, then, I'd love to talk
That's
to you
why I'm
later.
thanking you, though, because I didn't know anything then. You know, when you look back at life and your mentors bring you to this protest, that's one of the most important protests.
It was.
You know, the longest. And I had the privilege to be there unknowing of anything. And here I am thanking you. So thank you.
I'm thanking you for remembering that, because it's important that we were the only Black organization.
Right.
It's so ridiculous that so-called other organizations didn't see the nexus between disability rights and Black people's liberation. And we were like, what are you, an idiot? You feel like melanin is going to keep your ass out of the wheelchair or out of the hospital, so I'm very proud of that, because we definitely saw the nexus between the oppression of Black people and the oppression of the disabled. And so one day you'll give me a call and I can tell you other funny stories about Ed Roberts.
Oh, I'm there.
Ed Roberts
I'm there.
was one ass person, I would say, right now, and very tough, did not play. So, all right, I gotta go.
So
You're at
before you go, can you
2:47.
give
You
us
can't
the
just time
email?
this, Brown.
Can you give us the email?
No, Betsy's gonna put it in
Oh,
the.
Betsy's gonna give it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Elaine.
I'm
Thank
gonna
you.
hang up, but I thank all of you for getting past my own gruffness. But it's just like, hello. I thought I had to say what I had.
Are you angry, Elaine?
Am
Are
I
you
what?
angry?
Who is asking me that?
This is Norma. I want to
I'm
know.
thinking I'm an angry Black woman. I'm angry every fucking day because we're still
That's
oppressed.
right. Well,
So, yes,
I'm
I'm
an
angry, but
angry.
I'm not
white.
I'm not a petty angry person. We're past this first part.
Right.
I just said I appreciate it and glad that I stayed on and then
Right.
listened to what you had to say. And I'm certainly glad I wound up with Helen Walsh, because that's one of the proudest moments we had in the Black Panther Party. I swear. And I'm not saying that for you. I'm telling you because that's what it was.
I'm an angry communist.
Yeah, well, I'm angry every damn day. You can believe that, but
all
I'm not
the time.
But I'm hopeful and I'm very, very positive about what can be done. So I never wallow in it, but I certainly keep it there just in case the moment arrives when I might have to use it. All right, my brothers.
Peace and blessings, Ms. Brown.
All of you.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Peace and blessings. Stay well.
Right, power to the people. Thank you.
Power to
All
the
power
people.
to the people.
All power to the people.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Okay, I'm trying to get out.
Betsy, I'm going to copy the chat again, and I'm going to send it to the address that she gives us.
Okay.
Edited a bit, there was a couple
So-
things in there that are not necessary.
There is thank you, Norma, and let me give you all the address. It is, in fact, I'm going to look it up again to make sure
I think it's 1724, 1734 Campbell.
Yeah, that's the where the building is.
Building is at. Mhm.
I was just going to give the email address
Thank you.
real
Oh,
quick,
okay.
and I have to make sure because I ended up.
Okay,
So
maybe other people have comments while you're looking.
yeah, it's Sister EB. That's Sister EB at bellsouth.net. And let me double check that while you guys chat. So
Is it lowercase? Does it matter?
no, not for an email. It's usually lowercase, but it doesn't really matter. So sister, SISTEREB at bellsouth, BELLSOUTH.net. So we didn't mention it. I mean, she might have, but the organization she created in 2014 is oaklandandtheworld.org. And just, the board voted to send a small $100 gift to her, and
I sent it off yesterday.
yeah, so but they have a donations page if anyone wants to give online or send a check, and the information is at the website, Oakland and the World, and is spelled out.
Thank
Margaret
you.
Smith is here.
So welcome everyone who made it,
Yes.
including some of our newer members and people who haven't been able to join us in the past. Pietro Calagero, and of course, Cecilia is no stranger to us, but it was great she could make it online. Thank
The
you.
reason I mentioned Margot, is she is a candidate for office now.
Thank you.
She's on
Margot
the,
Dashiell, please tell us. We
No,
can't
not
endorse
Margot Dashiell.
candidates.
You mean Margot Smith is a candidate.
Oh, yeah.
that's right.
Not Margot Dashiell. Thank you.
No, I thought a new one.
That would be more work than I could handle.
Yeah. Yeah, Margot's announced that, here a couple times, and of course is wonderful. I want to apologize to you all. I'm not going to belabor this. You're welcome to call me, and if you wish, or or want me to call you, but I just want to acknowledge my disrespect, and I was really torn. I'm sorry I did that.
Betsy,
I'm not, yes, ma'am.
no, you know what? You're belaboring it. Let it go.
Okay,
and set it free.
then I've said my piece.
You said what
My
you said,
apologies
and let
to
it
you.
go.
Well, I'm just, okay.
I understand.
Right.
Nobody died from it, so
Let go.
let's.
Let it go. Let
Yeah.
go.
All right. I
Mhm.
have to, because we have a lot of great things going on in this new year. And we sort of line up at this point, and we have a little extra time actually, for, what members are up to, what our guests are up to. And I'm going to start with who would like to start? Let me put it that way. These are like a couple of minutes, and then I'll get my wits collected and talk about our board. But I know
Yeah.
Carol has an announcement. And I see that Jim and Roberta McLaughlin, but Carol, are you?
You do?
Carol Crooks? Did she drop? No, she's there.
Here.
I'm having connection problems.
Oh dear.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you are, no.
If you turn your camera off, we can hear you instead.
I've got the camera on. It's hard to see me because of the light.
Yeah,
Did
we
you
can't
hear-
understand you with your camera on. So if you could just turn your camera off, leave your mic on, and we can hear you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Can you hear me?
No.
We're still having problems with your connection. But keep trying, we can hear you.
Okay.
So, actually,
The information.
here we go.
We're gonna-
Okay, so the information is, she'll put it in chat. And that's great. I know two of the items. One is that in 2 weeks, it looks like we're to the board members, Carol, we needed to reschedule next Wednesday. And Carol is setting up, we're going to host a social and a member meeting at the Vault, which is in South Berkeley on Adeline Avenue. So if you're interested in that, put your name in chat. Second, it's the 13th.
Yeah, the second Wednesday, the Kara has this meeting, it's the second Tuesday of the month.
Okay, you want to announce, so
Yeah,
Kara
well,
is,
it's in Sunday,
yeah, it's
Friday, Sunday.
the day before, on the 12th.
Yeah.
So we're members of CARA, California Alliance of Retired Americans, which is also part of several other alliances and coalitions that we're part of, and
Yeah.
several people here. Robert and Cecilia are regular attenders at our Alameda County CAT.
Yes.
Cecilia, did you want to say a few words about the CARA meeting training that's happening Friday? Are you still able to be here? There you go.
Well, yes, matter of fact, on the March the 13th, Kara will meet at the Berkeley Senior Center on Ellis Street
South
at 10 a.m., 10 to 12. And we will have a leadership of training on that day.
And is that also including the senior vote ambassador training or some part of that?
I'm not sure, Beck, I'm not really sure.
Well, we have time to get the word out.
Right.
I get a lot of emails. I don't
Uh-huh.
always know, but it is Tuesday, the 12th. Yeah.
Right.
And
Uh-huh.
the 13th at 1:30 is when the Gray Panthers were inviting a social time, and we have a little board business.
And I
but
wanted to make an
social-
announcement too, that EPO, East Bay Housing Organization, we had a press conference on yesterday at the county administration building yesterday. It was about the Coliseum. So we're trying our best to trying to get the city and the county to work together with us to help us to be able to get our events back over there. Because those events we were given at the Coliseum was really to fund the 911 responders.
Oh, okay.
The purpose of that money, you see.
Okay.
Feds won't not allow us to have any events there right now. And that's why we was at the press conference on yesterday morning. Some of y'all may have seen it on the news. Because some people called me and told me that they saw me on the news talking about that.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yeah, because I was one of the speakers on yesterday.
Excellent.
That.
And what news?
What news?
On channel, the news people, channel 2 was there, and all, not 4 and 7 was there. Yes, yesterday morning.
Thank you.
But they say that it was on channel 2 also. That's what I was told.
Could you show your face on the screen? Is that Carol Cunningham? Are you able to show us who you are? Can you see?
Let me. Because right now I'm not even dressed. No, I'm just being frank with you. I'm not even.
Yeah, I know that, but
Okay, so
it just shows your face. It doesn't show much else.
But
anyway, we'll see you another time.
Yeah, when I, hopefully, because I'm usually at the meeting in person for Kara.
So we're
probably be coming also to our event for East Bay Panthers. I will be coming to that event also.
Yay. That'll be great.
I'm gonna come because I used to come to the meetings way back.
Yeah.
Before that when we had that COVID, before that COVID came along.
We met when we had a session on environmental.
That's right.
On the climate disaster.
Yes.
And you brought several people, lovely folks from the United Seniors of
That's
Oakland
correct. I
County.
certainly.
And I know you're real involved with that.
Right. Because I'm part of United Seniors, and quite a few other organizations, CBE, the Community for Better Environment, and other organizations.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We should learn more about that too as April comes up. So I'm sorry someone had asked the McLaughlins, Jim McLaughlin, you want to just make a quick announcement?
Yeah, I
Or
just
big
wanted to
things?
say that I had talked about the racial wealth gap learning simulation, which builds on the history that Ms. Brown gave us. And I wanted to say that we're willing to come to people's homes or churches or senior residences to run this racial wealth gap learning simulation. We've done it a dozen times now, and every time I do it, I learn something new. And I learned something more about the history of this country and systemic racism. It's a fantastic learning experience, and we have the simulation, and we will travel. And just email me, Jim, Jim at ebraa.org, EBRA, East Bay Reparations Awareness and Advocacy.org.
It's in the chat.
It's in the chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Arlene, I know you had a report from the Poor People's Campaign and teach-in at Laney College.
Yes, we had a teach-in at on February 15th at Laney College. And it was a real powerhouse lineup with the Anti-Police Terror Project. And it's really interesting to hear what it really is, defund the police, what it really means. And he was a prolific speaker. We also had a Careful Community, who was about public land for public good, and
That's
about the dark money that is impacting us on a major basis.
with Carol Fife's
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah. We had a short video from Chesa Bodine about the recall, and he was the lead-in to Pamela Price, who was our keynote speaker. And it was really powerful. We had over 130 people there. Students were extremely engaged because it was actually on location. And I'm hoping that they do a series of, I know they're going to do another one in the fall, but I really would love to see them kind of expand some of the subject matter so that you have more time for information and also more time for questions. It was just really a great and powerful teaching. And I didn't really, it was so short, they did it in like 4 weeks. I didn't really have an opportunity to like share the information. But the Poor People's Campaign is, I don't know if you know, they are having a caravan up to Sacramento on Saturday, March the 2nd. And it leaves at from Oakland, at least from 8:15. I think it's maybe about 3-4 hours. And they're doing it across the nation. So it's like 30 states are all going to convene on their state capital. And it's basically those who are impacted, those who are marginalized, unemployed, re-entry, single mothers, people of color, BIPOC. You know, it's all of us where there is a convergence of issues. So I want to see if I could put the.
Yeah. If anyone wants to join the bus from leaving from Laney, they can reach you, or you can put some.
They have to register, but I'm going to see if I could get. I asked her to send me something because I didn't have anything, so I'm going to see about putting this in the chat for anyone if they're interested in participating or sharing it with anyone that they know who would like to attend.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Arlene. I did want to share a couple things that were sent out in the agendas that you all received. Both we have a East Bay Gray Panthers or sort of bulk mailing process for anyone who signs up on our website. And there's about 500 people there. But I also personally send out emails to basically the members or supporters that I personally get to know. It's just an easier way. So if you're wanting more connection, I'm just going to invite you all to join Gray Panthers online, or we can talk about a check. The board voted to have a $5 kind of hardship, just recognizing how difficult the times are. It's usually $35 a year or $15 a year for low income. And then we put this $5 a year just so people can contribute their piece, because our bylaws say that you have to be up current on your dues in order to be a voting member. But of course, we welcome anyone here. So that's my organizational pitch. eastbaygraypanthers.org is the website where you can donate and become a member. Let's see, I'm looking at my list. We have, last month we announced a rally. We're in solidarity with or we helped create the Landless Peoples Alliance, and a small youth village came out of that was created in Oakland, a place for sort of transition age youth with tiny houses. And that there is a rally that they are organizing, or rather the founder of that project is now working on a youth village in Richmond with a lot of collaborating organizations. And in partnership with the Poor People's Campaign and Food Not Bombs, there's a rally in Sacramento that's been deferred from February. It's now March 18th. Rally to End Homelessness now. And if you received the invitation, if you received an email from me, BetsyMorris88@gmail, there was a flyer attached. So that explains who the sponsors are. And I'd like to get at least a car, a carpool, and maybe two. And Robert has our banner. So it would be great to go up with other supporters of Gray Panthers, or any group you want to go up with, but again, put in the chat or give me a call or an email. Because be great to have a few more Panthers there. Okay, I'm going to call on our newest member, Pietro Calagero, who can share who he is and what he's up to and why he joined.
Oh, okay. Actually, before
And I'll get to Norma. I'll get back to you, Norma, in a minute.
Just put the announcement in the chat.
Right.
Thanks.
Yeah, and before I get to introductions, actually in the chat, there was a question about the meeting at the vault. If you could also put the time and the date of that as well, because that was never answered. So that'd be great.
Okay, Carol was going to get, okay, I'll make sure.
All right. Yeah, so I'm Pietro. I teach urban studies and housing, public policy at San Francisco State University and at San Jose State University. And yeah, I'm studying how to make housing affordable. Yeah, I
Or
don't know,
teaching it.
Yeah.
Or trying to teach it, yeah. Well, I wanted to say that at our last board, thank you, Pietro, we met at the Berkeley EBHO gathering, which was last Friday. Anyone can join the calls that EBHO, East Bay Housing Organization, holds in Oakland, and they also hold them in Berkeley, like every other month. And I believe we are going to potentially get a crew of graduate students studying housing policy to help put into writing our work on social housing. I mean, we're advocates for affordable housing. We've advocated for the Moms for Housing campaign, but the nut is how to understand and build a movement so that we're not just building buildings, we're building people's capacities to be part of this housing. So at the last board, well, to reconstitute our cities, I suppose we could say, make them healthier and stronger. So at our last board meeting, Maria Sol spoke eloquently, and we're now endorsing and hope to get some help from Pietro and his class, endorsing this is a conversation about housing as health, health as housing. Gray Panthers started, and our mission statement from 1975 says our focus is health. But really, in the last 5 years, we're more and more, it's all about housing, homelessness, justice for this essential human need. So I think Maria might be able to say a few words about the idea, but we applied for a grant that was submitted last week on deadline for a few $1,000s. We're putting in $1,000, and it's to sponsor dialogues over a meal, at least, where we can talk about housing as health, health as housing. And the upshot, we hope, will be hiring graphic scribers to create a drawing, a summary of our remarks. Now, this isn't necessarily what Pietro's class will be doing, but this is kind of a focus to really raise consciousness that housing is a human right. It's a human need. It's a necessity, and it is part of being a healthy, whole human. Secondly, on that front, the other topic, the other project that we're pursuing is the board supported the idea of having a forum, a public forum on social housing, which is a kind of federation approach to community organizing, and also a federation of public, private, nonprofit, and cooperative housing builders, residents, developers. We want to explore the SB 555, which approved a social housing concept for the state of California. And the point of this is that it's social housing coming from us from other countries. The movement says social housing is not for profit. That's number one. It's permanently not for profit. Currently, our public policy spends a lot of money to help private developers and nonprofit housing developers to create housing that has like a 15 or a 30-year lifetime. And then it can go back on the market, the building. So we're this social housing concept. Yeah. Robert's by my side here. He's making commentary. So this May is affordable housing month. You might say, why do we need this new term, social housing? Or I know what social housing is. It's when we all shared a house, and live cheaply. It's a little bigger than that, and it's more about, to me, building the alliances. And what Miss Elaine Brown is doing is social housing, but there should be thousands and thousands more buildings. And the idea of calling it social housing is to be able to address this strategy of permanently affordable housing that's off the market permanently. So it'll always, whether or not there are subsidies, the cost of living there will be more in line with what people are actually earning. There's a lot more to it. So Pietro's class, I'm hoping to convince some of them to come on board and help us with little briefing papers and short presentations so that we can get our political electeds involved and build a platform that Panthers and others are endorsing. So when we're holding a standard for affordable housing, we have one. I just want to acknowledge that Margot Smith is running on a housing platform, and I'm glad Margot could join us today. She's our emeritus board member, was Gray Panthers president or convener for 10 years. Okay, let me not bounce around too much. So I wanted to thank Pietro for that. Do you have any comments? Do you want to disavow anything I've said or acknowledge?
No, I have gotten a response from Alex Lee. He is looking for some research on rotating funds in order to continuously support social housing, but there's a lot more to do on that. A lot more to
Yeah. And
check. So
great. We hope to hear from Aisha Wahab, who's the primary author of this bill that passed and was signed for a study group at the state level on social housing. We know we don't need that many more study groups, but we all could you know, the housing non-system, as it's not working very well for so many people, it's complex, and we need ways to cut through the complexities, is my take on it. So anyway, I'm looking forward to both those board endorsed projects. Maria, you want to
Yeah,
say more?
I just want to thank you and Pietro and, you know, this entire meeting today. It was so phenomenally fabulous. But with regard to the expanding and clarifying Gray Panthers from health to include housing, I just want to emphasize that sometimes we miss, you know, like the nose in the middle of our face. Housing is utterly responsible for good health in so many ways when people don't have it. The lack of it is utterly devastating. I can testify. So really, I appreciate the fact that we're going to get together and simplify and clarify and then put the word out, because sometimes, again, the obvious is missed. The simple is missed. We get so complex, you know, it's like, okay, this is really where the rubber hits the road. So thank you, Betsy, and everyone here. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful.
Hello.
I wanted to share about a couple of things in the chat. So one, the Vault, thank you, Cheryl, for adding this. The Vault is a cafe, fairly large, so there's space for larger tables. The Vault is at 3250 Adeline in Berkeley. And it's got, we're not serving lunch, but you can order lunch. If you want a healthy meal, they have that. The second thing is I'm trying to juggle various things. Oh, Pamela White, thank you. Our member and my neighbor said she was speaking to Ms. Brown. She said, my grandparents worked with Bobby Seale and his sister. Loved the work when I was young and trying again now in my younger age to carry on a little. Pam, did you want to share any announcements from or say any more if you're still there?
No, just wanted to say I enjoyed Elaine. I've been following her, of course, as Black Panther in Oakland, but also I just wanted to let you, the League of Women Voters, we're trying to get the vote out. Not so much in California, but I mean everywhere, because so many people, Black, brown, purple, green, yellow, they don't want to vote at all. So and you know, even in my own family. So excuse me. So make sure you get the vote out. I know it's a lot going on that ballot. I had to study that bad boy a zillion times myself. And so you know, it's just get the vote out, get the vote out, everybody. Just vote, 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 vote. Thank you.
Thank you. Aren't there some candidate forums you or someone else wants to tell us about?
There are some, and there were some last week that unfortunately I missed because I was sick, but yeah. If I find out about them, I'll send them to you, Betsy.
Okay. Well,
and
if
thanks,
yeah,
Darlene, for
and especially get
Pardon?
and to get the
and Helen
vote out,
too.
especially talk to young people, students, you know, that are of voting age. We really need to really stress that. Not necessarily that you approve of who's running,
right?
But are they doing anything in relation to what impacts you? Get the vote out. It's really important.
Yeah. And
Can
Can I tap in, Betsy, here too?
Please, Helen.
I've been working with areas of Texas and other areas with an organization called Rev Up the Boat in the disability community to also help seniors and persons with disabilities to know their rights to vote. So if it will be helpful for Gray Panthers, I could probably collect information so people have that on hand when they go to vote. Yesterday, I had to advocate for my own self. They didn't give me a mail-in ballot. So knowing those things. So I'm more than happy I could pass it. Maybe it could be included, or I'll put that information up on our Gray Panther Facebook site as we come into this. So we have all on board.
Great. Helen is our most prolific Facebook poster and also comes through at the last minute to put things up like this meeting and our guest. So
Can I make my
Facebook,
comment here?
I will, let me finish this and then if
How much
yes.
finish?
Well, I just wanted to get through our announcements, but if you have an announcement,
No, it's a comment because
so let
people.
me finish.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Norma.
Continue.
No, continue, Norma.
People cannot think that rent is given by God, that it comes from above, and rent is what our due is. Rent is a manner of theft by our owners of our lives. Our lives are dedicated to being able to pay the rent. And that's not how we should be thinking about how we build a society for us. We build a society, we build the housing, we build the food, we build the healthcare, we build the structure of our living, and we are charged. They steal it from us. They steal it in the legislatures. So it's all legal, but it's wrong. The whole thing is wrong. Us having to have a mindset of have to go to work so I can pay the job, because most of the jobs that are arranged are very negative and unpleasing and in bad conditions. So we have to be aggravated that this is how we're supposed to live. Those are the things, the centers of actually what Elaine and the Panthers and other uprisings are all about, is stopping us thinking that the structures of profit, of capitalism, are the right way to go about living our of having our thinking oriented. To be angry, she mentioned the banks. The banks is a bad place, period. You know, those are capitalists. So, well, you know.
Well, maybe we can have a debrief after and let Betsy continue on with what she was saying.
Well, I thank you, Arlene. And, you know, I promised to Norma, and I didn't do it today, but that each meeting I affirm, you know, I think we mostly affirm that the systems of capitalism and, you know, our minds are colonized to think that the way things are now are the way they always have to be. I'm not as eloquent as Norma, but
That's good.
we are
That's
all
fine.
about both wanting to speak up for the right thing in the moment, you know, but what I'm appreciating about Gray Panthers is nationally, we have a study group that's put out a document about the role, about what's going on in nursing homes. Like they're not, they should not and never should have been for profit. And so there's here in the Bay Area, we can't always do our deep roots research, but we're doing it with social housing. And we're part of groups that are, you know, without having to talk at length about what Norma is bringing up, I feel like it's built into the platforms that I want us to actually start to put forward. So in that vein, but not quite the same vein, I know Helen and Maria have various work they've been doing with Center for Independent Living and Senior Disability Action, which are groups that we partner with to reshape well, there's several issues, but one is the the homeless systems and the shelters and the transition houses, hardly any of them are actually accessible to a wide range of people, and many of them are just unsafe. And Arlene and I have been going to these, it's called the Continuum of Care, which is the actual supposed, it's not a governance system, but it's a coordinating hub, meetings in Alameda County where all the homeless services people who have big contracts come together and talk. But there needs to be some systems change, because so we can go and have another conversation about the problems. But I want to let you know that those of you who are new, especially, we have active ties and commitments to various landless peoples groups like Wood Street Commons, and the Pathways, and to the travesty that's been going on even here in Berkeley. Henry Robinson Center has had no heat. That's a shelter, no heat in Oakland. Here we have pallet houses that have been sitting in the rain for some time while the city tries to work out its contract with a very beleaguered and occasionally just wrong-headed service provider, Pathways down on 2nd Street. So I'll stop there and just say we have sort of a housing and homeless action team that's involved in those issues. And then particularly around disabilities, I don't want to speak for Helen or CIL, but I know they recently put together a statement about universal design, and Helen is also working with our national council to get those principles of universal design part of our platform on housing, which we are working on at the National Council. So I'm going on at length. And I need, Maria and anyone else, I want to thank, well, after you, Maria, I'll draw attention to the meeting chat and thank some of our contributors there.
Right. Well, some of us, have been meeting weekly with CIL, and we're really very adamant. And we're really trying to refine our effective press conference to draw attention again to the simple with regard to what must be handled. I recently received some pictures from an insider at Pathways where there's mold in the shower. The toilet and urinals do not flush and back up. And the woman in charge, a lot of the time, literally says, I don't want to make it comfortable for you here because then you'll never leave. That's a quote unquote. So at any rate, I'm involved in commissions also allocating funds to many of these groups that want to get more money or at least retain their prior funding. And I think that what we need is transparent accountability, just like in construction. The inspector comes and verifies whether or not it was built correctly. So at any rate, Helen, I haven't been keeping track of recently, but I know that there's just an infinite amount of work to do with regard to what we're doing. So thank you. Thank you for what each of us do. Thank you.
I really enjoyed the meeting, and I'm just so sorry I wasn't able to be here for Elaine's Brown presentation.
Well, we will have we did record, and Rains, who's not here today, is in Reno, also a board member, my husband. He'll be posting it sometime soon.
Well, that sounds good. That sounds really good, because I would like to have a copy of it myself.
And we did a transcript, so I can.
Yes, I'd like to have a copy of it.
I don't.
Betsy,
We'll have
we
to
missed the
edit it
beginning.
down.
The recording
ma'am.
did not capture the beginning. Just let the people know that we started recording late.
That's okay. That's
A little
okay.
late. Yeah.
That's okay.
So the first part got chopped off.
A little bit. Okay. I think that's it for the formal announcements, and we can close the formal part of our meeting. Once again, I want to thank Alan Gould, who posted some things about voter campaign guides. I want to thank everyone who showed up and showed up. Susan, thank you for joining us. And Cheryl White, Marcia Kimmel, Hallie, Margot. I'm not even naming everybody, just recognizing you it's great. Are there any last words? I actually, I always have more words. I wanted to recommend a book, actually, if that's all right. It's called The Grimm Case, The Legacy of Slavery in an American Family by Carrie K. Greenidge. I picked it up in a bookstore, which I don't usually do as much. It's 2022, and it's incredible scholarship and storytelling with a critique of the white abolitionists, Quakers, and the introduction of the relationships and the intimate lives of the Black abolitionists, elites in there, in Philadelphia, Washington, New York, and Boston. And it was a very sobering view of the work that they did together and separately. It's also a fierce look into the fight to abolish slavery and then the fight to get the vote for Black men or for women, white women, and the divisions that came up. So I just want to recommend it, The Grimkes, Grimkes. This was a family of two sisters, white sisters, and their brother had children by a Black woman he enslaved, had enslaved. And the Grimke line on both sides. It's just a powerful book. Getting goosebumps even talking about it. So those of us who still like to read, I can barely read long books anymore, but those of us who like to read, I recommend this highly. And
is it on audio? I can't focus more. I'm messing with you.
I don't know, but that would be a great thing. That would be a great thing. And I will say the book looks thick, but about the last third footnotes, which I love.
This is Helen, and I don't know if this group knows, but some libraries have what's called Canopy, and sometimes you can't find it there. If I find it, because I do everything audiobooks because I'm low vision, but it's a good way to read. Don't discount reading in alternative ways, but happy to help anybody who wants to get familiar with the technology components of it.
It's great.
You can call
Yeah,
the
it is, huh?
Never mind.
Show the
I
picture
read
again,
too much
please.
now.
I heard another voice. Thank you, Helen.
Title again, please.
The title is The Grimkes, Grimkes, The Legacy of Slavery in an American Family. And the author, I just put the title in the chat, but the author by Carrie Greenidge. And she is a scholar, African-American and other history or American studies at Tufts University. So
you can call your local library
Yes.
and ask for it, and they can order it for you sometimes.
That's
what I do, because I need
What I do.
audiobooks too.
good. Mhm.
wonderful. And I understand you can put the audiobooks on a higher speed if you're if you want. So I'm going to call our formal meeting to a close. We sometimes have a poem or a song or other, but I'm going to close it for those of you who need to go, but stick around because we'll still, some of us will stay on and chat past until 4. And then I'm going to go at that point. So yeah, our meeting's adjourned. Our next board meeting and informal member social will be in 2 weeks.
13.
Okay.
On the 13th at the Vault Cafe.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, and we'd like to start having socials in multiple parts of, the county, certainly in Oakland, as we grow our membership there. So
That sounds good. Mhm.
that sounds really good.
See,
Okay.
March Tuesday and second Tuesday is March 12th.
Yeah,
That's
so that's
Kara,
the Kara.
and then 13th should be the.
Okay.
All right.
I
Okay.
got
Okay.
a couple of comments I wanted to make,
Yeah, do you want to speak?
The first thing I want to say would involve housing. What has happened is that these investment outfits bought up a lot of housing and jacked up the rents and prices, but housing got to become so expensive.
Yeah.
And another thing, Elaine Brown was talking about that big post office in Oakland and 7th Peralta.
Yeah,
I worked there for about 3 years in the early 70s, excuse me.
when it was brand new.
Yes, it was right there, and it was, I mean, it was a trip. I came through, it was a combination prison, high school, and Marine Corps boot camp, and somebody told me that the post office was designed by somebody who designs prisons. I think it was like a prison, and
Wow.
and I mean, it was just a trip. I mean, half the people, I swear, half the people were on drugs, and half came in drunk.
Are these the customers or the postal
They were
workers?
the postal people,
Ah.
the workers in the docks. We were working in the docks. You see, third class, Portal Pros, all that stuff, loading trucks. And
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and then I had one guy there. Somebody called him the dirty old Frenchman. he was nasty. He made he made some remarks about me that it's funny as all heck. He said I belong to the sleazy outfit that sells. I'll paraphrase what he said. He said that I belong to the sleazy outfit that sells rugs and does funny stuff with goats.
What?
Hilarious. Yeah. Well, I paraphrasing him,
Okay.
but
Well,
I
that
thought it funny. The whole thing, the place was just a trip, as far as I was concerned.
Well, they destroyed, between Caltrans and the post office, I think over 1,000 homes were destroyed from, MacArthur Freeway, what became the Nimitz, what was 880,
Yeah.
and then 7th Street was,
7th Street.
someone here might actually have been there to see it, but it was, Black Broadway, all the acts came there. I had a professor who was, used to, board there. I think he might have been a musician at one time. So I just hear about 7th Street, very famous street, and still, an anchor to West Oakland. But so you were one of the colonial intruders there.
Well, actually, in the early 50s, see, I was a Navy brat in the early 50s. I think my family, it was assigned to the Naval Air Station at Alameda, and I lived there. And in order to go to San Francisco, the freeway was built. You go through what they call the Posey Tube, and you go on 7th Street, then up Cypress. Then you connect to the Bay Bridge. But I mean, it was predominantly African American. And
Well, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
and I,
I'm sorry.
yeah, it was just probably
Doing too
yeah,
many
yeah. We
things.
go through that. And it was probably predominantly African American.
Oh, was it?
Oh yes.
The oldest, strongest community.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people
Well,
came up.
you couldn't live anywhere else.
Yeah.
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 Deep segregation.
Oh yes. I was talking about talking about that the wealth of black people is a lot less than that of white people. That's because discrimination. They were kept from buying the house, and also they are forced to take low paying jobs.
Yeah.
They couldn't get these decent jobs. They had to take because
Yeah.
they wouldn't hire them. Nobody. Yeah.
Insult after injury.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
Yes.
can I just say, we
Apologize.
don't have to limit our conversation about Black history to February, but I want to thank Arlene for saying, let's go call Elaine Brown to give us that deep dive, and it brought up a lot of things for different
I
people.
never thought you would say, yeah. I didn't think we were going to get it. It was just.
Yeah.
Great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you, Arlene. I wonder if our person who's on 725-83 8-3, is that Elaine? Yes, I think, I can't see because of the angle, but we have someone coming in. Elaine Coaxum lives at Savo Island Co-op. I sure hope I'm recognizing her. And it's yeah, it's a housing cooperative that many people don't realize was built and continues to this day on former Navy land right near Harriet Tubman Terrace. So I'm looking forward to talking with her afterwards. I'm not sure how to change her phone number. And now I should shut up. Thank you all for sticking around. Any other news or gossip or activities people want to talk about? Hallie,
Yeah,
please.
on 4/20, we're going to have a get together called People's Park and Green Space. It's going to be at the Central Library. It's free. It's in the community meeting room from 10:30 to 12:30 in the morning. And then there are going to be some other People's Park events. We're just in the planning stage now, but I want to make sure everybody knows.
Are the big double shipping containers still surrounding the park?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Go to peoplespark.org and we have a lot of things that are planned and happening, in support of the park. So just make sure you check it every once in a while because that's where all the information is on what meetings and things are happening. We have a court date that's supposed to come up for the California Supreme Court to hear the People's Park decision, to make a decision on whether they can build. And they can't build anything until then. And we're waiting to get a date on that. They're kind of dragging their feet, which may be a good thing because they can't build until they make a decision.
Wonderful. Margot, do you want to talk to us about your dive into the world of politics?
Well, it's been a real adventure. I've been on 12 forums for different organizations, and Buffy has shown up to one. And I don't think she's taking me very seriously. And I don't know how many voters I'm going to get on this campaign, because somehow my name has gotten around to. And this morning, Phil Garoppoli, in the San Francisco Chronicle had a very interesting article about the fact that there was such a low turnout that it might bring some surprises. And I thought, well, I would certainly be surprised if I won, if I got more votes than Buffy. She has a lot of money and she has all the endorsements and she's got the party behind her, but there are a lot of people that are unhappy with her. And it's particularly about housing, with they're building all this high-rise market rate housing, and it's not the kind of housing we really need. So it's been an adventure, and I've been sending out a lot of emails, and I was thinking, oh my God, what if I'm on the November ballot and I have to start a new campaign? I have to figure out what I'm going to do next. And then, of course, if I win by any small miracle, I'll be 4 years old when I take office, and I'll be 96 years old when my term finishes, and then I'll have to decide whether I'm going to run again.
Thanks.
Anyway, what I tell people is that there's a lot of commentary about how the 80-year-olds are running the country. Wait till us 90-year-olds take over.
That's when things will really get exciting.
That's right.
You're getting younger.
90 is the new
Margot.
80.
Yeah.
90 is the new 80.
Yes, 90 is the new 80. Yes.
And one of my friends once said, "Dead is the new 90."
Oh gosh, that's dark humor.
Margot, you're getting younger.
Oh well.
Margot's
No, I mean,
really
that's
putting a lot of effort into this. So if you can support her in any way, please do.
Yes, please tell all your friends to vote for me. And that's the essence of my campaign, is having people like you tell all your friends to vote for me. And that's where my strength is coming from. But thanks a lot.
Can someone tell me a little bit? I'm getting all the flyers and campaign ads just from the PAC, the property owners, all this, the PAC out to defeat Catherine Lieberger, who's a
Yes,
union.
because she's a threat. And my position is anybody but Jesse. And I prefer Catherine Lieberger. I think she's a very fine candidate, and everybody should vote for her. And you're getting all that stuff because she's a real threat. And
The
she's
dark money
by
is,
the unions.
Yeah. The all the commercials about
It
about
is-
immigration.
I have an email that I send out on how Margot is voting. And if you send me an email, I'll send it back to you with the whole list of everything organized the way it is on the ballot. And it goes through all the propositions and all the central committee people and everything else. So you don't have to vote like I do, but at least it gives you a hint about where you might vote if you care to.
You want to give your email?
Sure. I'll put it in the
Margot?
chat.
Okay, great. I think Alan Gould also put a candidates list.
Oh yeah, he was wonderful on that.
Oh yeah, he's a neighbor of yours, I think. Is that
Yeah.
right? He comes once a year to the Gray Panthers, which I appreciate. And Dave Blake.
I just wanted to say that the massive amount of independent expenditures attacking Liebarger has been really disgusting, and I think it will backfire. I don't know if it'll backfire enough to put her on the November ballot, and I'm hoping it will. I don't think you can. I don't think if Jesse had his way, that it would be quite so vociferous and ugly, because I think it's not helping him at all. Not to say that he would object to it on moral grounds, just to say that he would object to it on its efficacy. So I do hope everyone votes for her, and she's an awfully good person, and then we'll have a fight for November.
Who?
And by the way, I have a poem if you're ever ready.
All right, we'll get there. I actually have a question because a number of groups that I'm part of have endorsed. Well, that's where I'm a little. I think Javanka Beckles is often been in the circles that I'm in. Is she? There's so many candidates for certain roles. Is she running for the same role, the state Senate position?
Yes, she is, and
Always does, and so far she has. If you look at her record, she's responsible for electing Buffy, because she could not. They had such an easy time attacking her in the general election.
Yeah, and Buffy had a lot of outside money.
Oh yeah.
Buffy had as much outside. Buffy had what I believe to be the most expensive assembly race in American history.
A clear carpet bag.
$4.5 million. But
yeah, wow.
But you have to understand that only two people can get into the finals.
Yeah.
Dan Kalb, a personally reasonable person who I supported, and barely lost to Javanka in the primaries and had a chance. If he'd gotten another 150 votes, a far better chance of beating Buffy than she did, I think.
I'm the only candidate opposed.
If I can finish, I'll just finish and I'll shut up, I promise. As did Andy Katz, who I begged to not run, who stole my endorsement without my permission because he thinks we're good friends. He also, if he hadn't run, or if Ben Bartlett hadn't run, the left is not very good at thinking strategically about the way the California primary system works.
Yeah, we still think we have a democracy with regard to voting, and we don't. First of all, this is not a primary. It's a primary with regard to electing the president. But other than that, we used to be able to get our candidates on the ballot to be voted for by party. And then we'd get a representative out of all the parties that are on the ballot And we don't have that anymore. That top two has eradicated that.
There we go. So, Margot, you were also wanted to wrap, and anyone else?
Yeah, I'm the only opposition to Buffy on the ballot this time. There's a Republican person running. He's a 20-year-old economics student at UC Berkeley, and he hasn't shown up for anything. And he's a Republican.
I got to hear did anyone else hear the Alameda County Supervisors Forum? Was that, I forget who held that. Was that the League of Women Voters, Pam, that held that? With, yeah. And Paula Laverde, who's come here, comes sometimes here, did a great job of moderating. They were it was revealing. Just the buttons, they were it was revealing. And is there a primary for them just this month? I'm sorry not to follow this, but
I believe it's the same for them as it is for all the other offices, the top two in November.
Let's go, yeah. So
what's the name of the office you're talking about?
County Supervisor Keith Carson.
Yes.
Is
Keith Carson is the one that Berkeley's in.
Yeah,
That's
North
fine.
Oakland. So you, some of us might be in other districts, but the county supervisors, that race is way open, and a lot of candidates just for even the district here in North Oakland and Berkeley, but others. And it's important because they've recently voted down, for example, extending rent control to the unincorporated areas of Alameda County. So those folks in Cherryland, Ashland, some of those, I'm not sure of all the names of the neighborhoods, unincorporated, they pretty much are at the whim of the supervisors. And a lot of things that happen at the county level, like how homeless monies are managed or mismanaged, it all happens at the supervisor's level. We beat up on the cities, but the bulk of the money and ultimate authority is at the county level. So that's why Arlene and I are getting out to more county meetings. So when we have our arguments with our city officials, we can actually have a more influence, I think, at the county level with some of the county departments.
And we have to know how things work before we can speak on it. A lot of times we only know these little bits and pieces, but we don't really know the mechanics. So the mechanics are really important in order to come up with a solution.
And Arlene is incredible because she's like on every important panel, and not to say you overdo it, Arlene, but I've learned so much from you, so I'm appreciating what you bring to the table here. Yeah. So
who are you voting for, Arlene?
Pardon me?
Who are you voting for supervisor?
I have no idea. I don't want to think about that right now. My brain, I have like a headache, right?
I've been following it pretty closely, and Nikki Bass is pretty much the outstanding candidate, I think.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Nikki Bass Fortunato. Is she not Fortunato? Yeah.
Nikki Fortunato Bass.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
Yeah. That's my district here. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe someday we'll get her to speak. All right.
Well, I really want to look at what they do, so I haven't looked at all what they've done. So until I see what their voting record is, what they've actually participated in, that's when I make a decision, not just because I know the name.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Does the league keep track of votes at the level of the county, Pam?
Yeah, we have the Bay Area League, and I think they do that as well. But I'm like you, Arlene, but I follow the money. Who's backing them?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's the easiest way to see if they really support, follow the money. So that's what I do. I'm looking to see who's backing them.
So I'd like to add that as part of our Affordable Housing Month activity to get someone to come in, and we can look it up. we can go to MapLight or maplight.com, Money in Politics Light, maplight.com tracks California at the state level, you know, money campaign donations. And then Berkeley has its own campaign finance record, but I haven't heard where to, I mean, I guess you go to the city clerk's website to look it up for this most recent election, because we have even bigger disclosure laws. So some of those ads, they have to say who their top 5 campaign contributors are to the, so that's where we learn a lot. Pam, yeah, let's do a little follow the money thing during May at the very least, if not sooner, but you know.
I should remind people that there will be special elections coming up for District 4 and District 7 council seats in Berkeley, where both council members are present.
That's right. And
about the Senate, Senate race, you got two Senate races going on.
Yeah.
One to fill the remainder of Feinstein's term, and the one for the term starting after that. You see.
Wow.
Kind of weird, you see.
Yeah. And anyone who wants to speak about Latifah Simon, I really like her ads. They're showing up on my laptop. I mean, some of the groups I'm part of definitely back her.
What's she running for?
Isn't she running for Barbara Lee's
she's
old
running for
seat?
Barbara Lee's seat, yes.
704.
So it's worth looking into for sure. As Bart, she's a Bart director who's been sympathetic for what I don't know exactly, but she has come and spoken to Friends of Adeline about her support and how to navigate trying to get 100% affordable not-for-profit housing at Ashby Bart. We've got it up to 50%, which the Bart itself was ready to do 2-3 years ago, but the city council here in Berkeley kind of dawdled and wanted it to be 35%. Then we got it up to 50. We're still seeing what will be delivered, but
we need public housing.
Yeah. So Dave just went away with our poem, but I do want to just say
I'm here. I'm just
okay. I hope it's in sync
I've been asking different
in
ones.
some way. Okay.
Have I ever not been in sync?
There was one poem there that was, it was a more, I don't know, more
Too
esoteric.
deep for you, I guess. That's the problem.
I don't read enough poetry. I will
That's
grant
it.
you that. I should read more. So it's always.
Will you object to a Mary Oliver poem?
I see a thumbs up. I'm good. She's got a lot of play in the fields that I'm in.
I'm glad she's still hip.
Oh, Carol? Oh, Carol is unmuted, but she's not talking to us. Okay.
Your record will be erased also.
Someone, let me see about muting whoever's speaking, or you can talk loudly as you have a good, strong voice.
It wasn't for everybody.
For
everybody.
I see. I can mute people, but it takes me a long time. So mute.
I'll just talk louder than her. I'm good at that.
Okay, I think Carol's muted herself. Everyone's muted, but Cheryl, you and me, and I think we can go forward.
I know you never intended to be in this world, but you're in it all the same. So why not get started immediately? I mean, belonging to it. There is so much to admire, to weep over, and to write music or poems about. Bless the feet that take you to and fro. Bless the eyes and the listening ears. Bless the tongue, the marvel of taste. Bless touching. You could live 100 years. It's happening. Or not. I'm speaking from the fortunate platform of many years, none of which I think I ever wasted. Do you need a prod? Do you need a little darkness to get you going? Let me be as urgent as a knife then, and remind you of Keats, so single of purpose and thinking for a while, so single of purpose and thinking. For a while, he had a lifetime. Sorry, it's I confused the punchline with another poem of hers. If I may go a little, I'll just do one more short one from Arundhat Ray. Everybody know who that is? The god of small things. I'm not sure it's a poem. It's from her book, The Cost of Living. To love, to be loved, to never forget your own insignificance, to never get used to the unspeakable violence and the vulgar disparity of life around you, to seek joy in the saddest places, to pursue beauty to its lair, to never simplify what is complicated, nor complicate what is simple, to respect strength, never power, above all, to watch, to try and understand, to never look away, and never, never to forget.
Beautiful. Thank you, Dave. Thank you all. We'll see you next month, if not sooner, in person.
Okay, don't forget March 2nd, California Poor People. If anybody's interested, tell your neighbors, tell your friend.
Did you put your phone number in the chat, Arlene?
I put the flyer in the chat and
Okay,
I put
great.
the contact information.
All right.
She sent me a.
Oops.
All right, no worries.
All good. I'll see
It's
about
all
going.
good. Peace and blessings, everybody.
Thanks for coming out. Ethleen, this is a treat. See you digitally this time. Pam, all good things to you and all that you're carrying and
Feel
healing
better, Pam.
your body. Yeah.
Feel
Yeah.
better. Peace and blessings. Praying for healing and restoration. All right,
And
guys.
yeah. All right.
Okay.
Hallie, Norma, Cheryl, Dave, Arlene, Robert, Pam.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
See you on the front
Bye.
lines.
Yay.
Bye all. Save your chat if you haven't done it already. How do I do that? Okay.
Yeah, how do I get out of here?
Where's, yeah, there it is. Save chat, copy quote. What am I doing? Yeah, I know how to save chat, but I can't remember. All right.
If you'll hold on a second, I'll put the Oliver poem in the chat. I just
Oh,
copied it.
thank you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Save chat. How come I can't save it?
Yeah, I put it, it's going in. Hold on, everything's disappearing.
No. No. Who?
I don't know what happened there. I may have done it wrong. I may have screwed up. Maybe you should.
I
I
don't
put
think
it
you
in there. For some reason, it did it. It put me in 5 extra times. I don't know why. Sorry.
Weird. Okay. For some reason, I'm also, this is, my tech guy's out of town. So, but good to see you.
I'm busy deleting my extra entries.
Okay.
I have the whole thing and I'm gonna send it to Betsy to do what she wants with it.
Excellent. Do it now. Did you catch Dave's poem?
Did he put it in?
Yeah.
I just put it in.
For some reason.
Oh, there,
not-
I see.
I'm
Hold
not.
on, yeah.
Thank you. For some reason, I'm not seeing my own save chat feature.
Well, what do you know?
What do I know? I just get
where
my
it
own
is.
way sometimes. All right. Oh, here, I see the poem. I do see the poem. And thank you.
All right.
Don't go anyplace.
Okay.
The thing is taking off on its own. Okay, there. I got it.
Yeah, I don't see Save Chat either. I don't know where the hell it is.
He didn't want to talk to you.
I
Here it is at the very bottom below book. Blue horses. Below his
Yes,
poem.
my poem is the last thing.
Yeah.
And then it's got 3 dots.
I don't know why. Oh, the 3 dots are for, I don't know, editing.
The
Usually.
3 dots are for save the chat.
Oh, that's where Save the Chat is at the very
mine says copy, quote, or delete. his
I'm
message.
telling that when you press
Oh,
those
it's-
three,
Here we
when you-
go. Now I see it. Thank you. There's several 3 buttons. You know, there's 3 different.
Oh, yes, the last of the 3 dots,
Yeah.
just before the post arrow is Save Chat.
All right. Ethleen, you made it. Did you
Yeah.
hear any of Elaine Brown?
No.
Okay.
So I heard you say that somebody could record it, and I
I-
want to get them. I want to get the.
recorded it and then accidentally shut down. And then I got back. So there is a recording. I have to just find out where it lives. And there's also
okay.
a transcription.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
why I do a copy and put it on my Word doc in my computer, so I know where it is.
Oh, she know the computer. I see. I don't know about the
Yeah,
computer.
Norma's
No,
been-
I didn't record the presentation, which was magnificent.
Wow, I missed it.
Norma, this is Ethleen, and Ethleen, there next time, if you choose to come again,
Yeah, because
I'll figure out how to change your phone number to your name if it's okay.
You do it, you do
yeah,
it.
because you
at
had it
the-
on email. You put it.
You
I had to get it on email, and then I realized I said, God, I had to do some things, and time passed, and I said, God, it's a meeting, and so I noticed it was still on. So I've been listening.
We
ever since around two.
we watched Erlene make that whole trip. She was on the bus and everything.
What?
Arlene? Who was on
I
the
think
bus?
it was this person.
Oh, you, Ethleen.
Ethleen was on the bus coming here and walking here and a whole bunch of stuff. Anyway, or someplace. Up in the upper right-hand corner of a person's video screen where her name would be, up in the upper right-hand corner, there's a blue square. Click on it and change the name. Now, I don't know about the host.
I just did that, yeah. But
Okay.
Ethleen, you can, if you roll your mouse button or your finger.
I'm on the phone.
Yes, so on the phone, it might show up if you put your finger on the right top
Because I
right.
got
That's
mute.
what you said.
I got
Norma.
mute, stop
Yeah,
video.
and then the 3 dots.
Oh, I seen
No,
the 3 dots at first.
Not 3 dots when, oh yeah, it is. Never mind.
Yeah, I did see it at first, but now I don't see it no more.
You got to put your finger there. It's right next to the mute button.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But I don't see nothing at the meeting.
No, you need your cursor to do the electronic move.
Oh, I see the 3 buttons. Now what I do, press?
Just tap that, and rename should be, a menu should show up with a whole bunch of options.
Are you tapping at a little blue square that's up in
I'm
the
just
top?
tapping them 3 buttons and it ain't nothing ain't happening.
Yeah, no, it's not. It says up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen where your face shows.
Yeah, that it has leave and it has Zoom.
No, if you've got a kind of square, a rectangle, and
So
you've
she's
got.
on the phone and she might have a
I
different
can't help you. Never mind.
set of different instructions, but
Yeah, right.
once I recognize you,
So it's on.
put your
Okay,
name.
should I press Zoom? Because it's on.
No, forget it. That's something else.
Okay. Because I
Yeah,
was even pressing Zoom. I was pressing leave and it ain't and it won't let me leave.
The other place you can go to is participants.
Okay, that's down at the
Which-
bottom.
Yeah,
Wait a
if you
minute.
go to participants.
Okay, I
then
did it.
will-
Okay.
And
And
then
it says Ethleen and it
Yeah.
says Betsy and it says
Yep.
Dave and
Well,
Norma.
And Norma,
So-
and you see, when you see your name, Ethleen, it says mute and then it says more.
Oh, so just press my name.
Press more.
Oh yeah, I did. It says press. Okay,
Okay.
it says my
And
name. It says
rename.
mute and rename.
Yeah,
Well, yeah.
that's the one. You got it.
Just practice doing.
So
the
what I supposed to
rename
do?
right now.
Press which one? Which one do you want me to
Press
press?
rename.
Okay. I did
But the one that's beside your name now, rename
Okay.
and rename, and then you can type in whatever you want us to call you. You can say Ethleen Coaxum, or you can put
Oh,
Queen
just put my
World.
name. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
It's there already.
Well, I did
Oh,
that, but
never
I'm giving
mind.
her a chance to do it herself.
Uh-oh.
Sorry to shout.
No.
But you see where you can click on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Okay.
been lovely as usual.
So I just press. Do I just press done?
You have to type in whatever you want.
Oh yeah, I
to
put my
replace.
name. So do I press
Okay.
done? Press
Done.
done.
Yeah, and let's see it change. Yeah. You want to delete the old stuff next
Uh-oh, so
time.
how to?
But yeah.
Oh,
See, now
okay.
it says Ethline Coaxum Ethline. So you succeeded. You
Okay.
mastered. Rename.
Okay. Okay.
Oh my God.
Ooh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right. I wanted to, there's something going on tomorrow. Oh.
What's going on tomorrow?
I'll announce, well, no, I can't. It's next week. And I don't think anyone here needs to know about it, but I'll send it out by email. Did you
Okay.
get a chance to sign up at the website?
No.
Oh, if eastbaygraypanthers.org and if you go to where it says join, which is just putting in your name
Okay.
and address and email and whatever, all the contact info. And then
But you guys do have my email.
well, I have it, but did you get there's two communications you might have gotten. One from East Bay Gray Panthers or Berkeley Gray Panthers, one from me personally. So I'm trying
because
to get in the
it said Gray Panthers. That's what it said.
Okay, then that's probably it. All right, I gotta go.
Okay.
See you. Take care, y'all.
All right. Have a good one now.
Thanks.
All
Bye,
right,
Dave.
bye-bye. I enjoyed. Bye.
I'm gonna get that. Oh, did I lose?
Uh-oh, I didn't get here.